Well, good evening and welcome to this Monday edition of Referee Corner here on IslandStats.com. I'm your host, Earl Basin, and joining me is the head of referee for Bermuda Football Association, Mr. Cranston Williams, as well as local official Natasha Trott. And we are joined by FIFA officials in Tanya Dean and Odette Hamilton. We are awaiting a few more guests to arrive. But first of all, thank you very much for joining us here. We want to talk to all three of you right now, Natasha, Tanya, and Odette, about, well, for Natasha, the ambitions, and Odette and Tanya, what you've been able to accomplish in your career thus far. Let me start with you, Odette. What has been the biggest challenge in your time officiating to date?
Hi, good evening. My biggest challenge is working with the men in the men's league as a woman.
Okay, what type of challenges is it? One of those lack of respect, or
Not really lack of respect, but they're always saying that a woman in a men game, it's challenging for us. So I have to be on top of things at all time, to keep up my pace with them.
Okay. Well, I want to welcome Gisette. Good evening. Hope all is well. Gisette, let me ask you, I'm going to ask you the same question. What has been your biggest challenge thus far in officiating?
My biggest challenge in officiating, I think, is, but I think in Jamaica mostly, that females in refereeing the male sport, it's kind of, they think that females are not supposed to do their games because we are not at a standard that they think that we should be. So I think us officiating male games here in Jamaica is the biggest challenge so far.
Okay. What about you, Tanya?
Hi, good evening, everyone. I guess I can say the same thing because it's a male-dominated sport, but more so for me because I am a lot older than most of the officials. I find that my biggest challenge is really staying motivated to remain on top of my game.
Now, Natasha, you've heard from these three. What would you say has been your challenge thus far? Because I mean, you've been in the game. I think this is your first or second year. But what has been your biggest challenge?
I'm not sure that I've had any big challenges to date. They seem pretty basic right now, but I can see how as I go further in the list or get to the list, there will be some. But at this point in time, it's been a pretty smooth transition. It sounds like a fairy tale, but it's okay for now.
Well, Mr. Williams, let me allow you to welcome these ladies because this has been your push to inspire the local side of officiating here in Bermuda, and having these ladies on today gives it just another look in as to say some of the things that our local officials are going through, have been going through, or will go through. They can actually hear from these people in person right here. So let me let you welcome them and give some insight as to why you're pushing this to allow them to have a voice throughout the Caribbean.
Good evening, everybody. Yes, I just want to say thank you to the ladies for agreeing to come on. Natasha was kind of volunteered that she's going to be on here because her dream is to become a FIFA listed official. Jessette and Odette, I met a couple of years and I went to Jamaica. Actually, Odette refereed a game with Tashawn, I believe was that Arnett Gardens, if I'm correct. That's when I got to see Odette. That's why I call her rude girl, bad girl Odette. And Tanya, I got her number from Kevon. because of the fact she's shortlisted to go to the World Cup. So for me, refereeing, I realized that in the Caribbean or just in general, from being the head of refereeing in Bermuda, it is not something that most people look at as something positive. It's always like an afterthought. All you haven't heard about or worry about are the football teams. So with me taking up the charge of being the head of referees, I decided we need to do something a little different. And I realized that people will come as long as you promote it correctly and show them what can happen down the road. Natasha used to play football for Bermuda, but also apparently used to be one of the academy coaches. So somehow or the other, I don't even know how, but she decided to come to a training session when Kalisa Antoine was here, and she just stood out. And I remember it was said to me, that's going to be the first female FIFA official. So that led to one thing led to another. And then that's Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie. I met Stephanie also when we went to Jamaica with Tashawn. And I realized that in Bermuda, there weren't that many females. I remember going to head of refereeing workshop, and I kept stressing this to Brian Hall. And Brian Hall basically told me, for lack of better words, you'll figure it out. Because at that time, we had not had anyone on the FIFA list in 14 years. So for me, I was like, I don't have anybody. I don't have any females. But now, slowly with recruitment and the youngsters coming through, we've managed to get more and more. And the other thing that I realized, even in terms of CONCACAF, we don't see much promotion regarding the females. You always see the males. So I decided, well, we started Accents in Action. I thought about it, mentioned to my committee. That started. And then from there, I said, well, you have the weekly show, so let's combine it because it's live and everybody gets to see. So thank you very much, ladies, for agreeing to come on. This is about promoting refereeing in general. And in particular, now we need more females. I know that's a mandate of CONCACAF.
Well, I want to welcome Stephanie. Stephanie, I did ask the other participants, the other guests, what has been their biggest challenge in officiating thus far for themselves. What can you say about your biggest challenge thus far in officiating?
Hi, good afternoon or evening Bermuda time. um, Biggest challenge thus far, maintaining motivation in keeping fit. You know, trying to keep up with training every day. It has become a habit now, but I can still say that sometimes it's challenging to keep motivated. Like just to get up and go train. Sometimes I don't want to do it, but you know you have to. So that's my biggest challenge, I would say.
Well, Mr. Williams, you would know about that with some of the officials in Bermuda, just being motivated to go training on a regular basis. So, I mean, here's someone that's on a FIFA list that still has the same challenges, but you know what? At the end of the day, they just go and do it. So, Tanya, let me ask you: over this COVID period, this global pandemic, how have you managed to stay fit, both mentally and physically, because there could be depression when you can't go anywhere, where there's no football, where there's nothing going on. So how have you managed to keep yourself going?
Well, truth be told, it has been really difficult, obviously, because no football is playing in Barbados. But I've been injured for a little while, and the road to recovery has been very difficult. In trying to get back strong and get back fit and try to stay with the program on a day-to-day basis. I actually re-aggravated my injury twice, so I had to come off of the program. And the fact that Barbados has been in a lockdown for a little while, and then we've been under curfew, it has been difficult. And then to compel the situation, we just had um, some ash fall over the past, I guess you can say, week or so from a volcano that erupted in St. Vincent. So that made training a little bit difficult too, because I had to train inside, and some of the things that I would have normally done, like running and stuff like that, I couldn't do because I don't have access to a treadmill at home, and running outdoors was obviously a no-no. But it has been difficult, and at the same time, like I would have mentioned before, one of my biggest challenges would have been staying motivated and stuff like that. But being that I'm the type of person who, and I usually tell this to my friends a lot, I would go on YouTube and I would listen to different motivational speakers, and I would draw from some of the information that they put out. So a lot of the times when I may feel like, COVID is taking away something that I love and stop me from being able to do it, I would use their motivational speeches and pieces to help me to try and stay motivated and stay grounded and remember what is the goal for exactly what I am doing. So that is how I've been coping throughout this whole COVID situation.
Mm. Odette, how has COVID or the pandemic affected you personally?
Well, for me personally, training wise, I can't get to go out sometimes to train. The training facility that we use is not 100%. So, sometimes you get injured, but you have to treat and go again. So the training facilities is just not the best at the moment. Um, there are times before when I have to use the road to train, and the surface is very hard. So that is very difficult. And then you have to send in a training program every month. So you want to ensure that there's something on the training program, and you have to just keep focused for the road ahead. So
Mm.
difficult.
And what about you, Gisette? How has this pandemic affected you and uh, kind of channeled you the way you now prepare yourself day in and day out if that phone call comes that you have an assignment?
Well, for me, it's more mental than anything else. Once you set your mind to something, then it is achievable no matter what is happening around you. By the time I use the same facility, so it's more or less the same. The facility is not 100% safe. The ground is very hard, but at this point in time, there's nothing else that we can do. We know that we have to train, we have to send in our program that we do every month. So we have to tell what we do daily. So some of the times, if we don't go out, then I just probably do something on the spot to show that we are actually training. But it has been a challenge. But I use the fact that even if there's a it, even if I am having a challenge, I cannot use that as an excuse not to do something. Even though sometimes you're just tired and you don't want to go, you don't feel like to go. Sometimes I don't go based on my body and what it is telling me, but sometimes you don't have a choice.
Mm, mm. And Stephanie, for you, how that challenge of being confined to the house, if you're a person that normally trains on a regular basis, how has this pandemic affected you?
Uh, oh, can you hear me?
Good, good.
Okay. I try to look on the positive side of it. Try to, keyword. It's really difficult. Um, just to piggyback on something Tanya said earlier, a lot of us here, we aren't privy to having probably bicycles and treadmills at home. So most times we have to do indoor high intensity sessions or try to make our own gym at home using um, whatever tools we have or have access to. It hasn't been easy because even at home, you're like, okay, we're going to train at, say, for example, 4 o'clock. And then when 4 o'clock comes, like this whole lazy feeling just come over you. And you're like, I can't be bothered because you're at home and you have no one there to train with you or to support you. So it's been challenging. It's been tough.
Mm,
And not running and then going on the field to run, you kind of feel unorthodox at first, but then after a while, your body quickly readjusts.
mm. Now, Natasha, you've been somebody who has been active most of your life, if not all your life. How has the challenge of the pandemic affected you in your bid to ensure that that you can make that next step when that call comes?
I think that the lack of games in Bermuda has been a challenge. Not being able to officiate or assistant referee in a game, that slows down the progress a little bit of being match fit and match ready. But outside training has been okay. The gym's been closed for about 3 weeks now, maybe a month. I don't even know. It's been so long. But the COVID has hindered that a little bit. But I can run on the roads, and I have a few weights at my house that keep me going. But knowing that the goal is to be on the list, that's the motivation through the challenge.
Okay, all right. Odette, what got you started in officiating?
Can you repeat this?
What got you started in officiating?
Oh, well, I was playing football for 1 year in high school, right? And then after high school, I went to a club to play, right? But being at the club, I wasn't satisfied with what they were doing and how the procedure and protocols were. So I was like sitting down one day watching the referees doing their thing, and I was like, hey, I want to try that stuff because I always like challenges when I'm growing up. So I used to admire Cardella Samuels as a referee, because Women's League in Jamaica, she's always there refereeing the Women's League. So I always sit down and watch her. So from there, I said, I am going to become a referee and I want to be like her one day to wear a white badge. So after that, I started to ask questions of how to join. And that's how I started.
Okay, all right. And what about you, Tanya? How did you get started?
Well, I don't know. I started refereeing so long ago. I can't even really remember. That's the honest truth. But I think I used to be around some people who were into football, and they encouraged me to come and do the referee's course, and I went. I think I did that for like maybe a year or two. After that, we started a women's league here. I was finished with refereeing because I had a passion for playing. So I went and I played. I played for a couple years. Um, After 2014, we went to the second set of World Cup qualifiers, and Barbados didn't qualify. It was like, you know what? I really want to stay in football, but playing is not going to cut it. And my honest to God feeling was that I really wanted to go to a World Cup. I never got to go as a player, and I said my chances of going as a referee might be a lot bigger and more hopeful as a referee than a player. So at the about midway point in 2014, I went back into refereeing. The funniest thing about it was that I was playing football for, I don't know, maybe 7 years or so, maybe more, and I could not pass the fitness test to save my life, and I was supposed to be fit. But I eventually did, and in 2015, I started to officiate in the Premier League in Barbados, and then the next year I went on the list. So that's how I got in, and then I got out, and then I got back in.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that. What about you, Gisette? How did you get your start?
Well, like most persons, I played football. I played in high school and I also played in college. Um, I was told that I should stop playing football and started refereeing. Well, actually, how I started is we did a course because it was a part of my studies because I majored in football in college, and I was told that I had to do refereeing as a part of the course in order to be able to pass. So I did the written test and I passed, and said that I had to do the practical, which is fitness test, and then I would be able to pass the course. So when I did that and I passed the fitness test, then said somebody on me, they said Mr. Sullivan and Mr. Dave Meekle on me. They said that I had to come into refereeing. And because I was playing football, I didn't want to do refereeing because I didn't think about becoming a referee because I just wanted to play. So they told Mr. Hutchinson, he passed on a couple years now. He taught me kinesiology. So because he was more of a motivator to me, so they told him that he needs to speak to me and get me into refereeing. So every day that I was on campus, that he would come to me and he would say that I need to go into refereeing, and then he would tell me what they would have told him about the benefits and all, and I just couldn't bother, and I just said, all right, I'll just give it a try. So when I stopped um going to college, then I started going to training, because we had a training at GC Foster College. We train every Saturday morning. And then I started in 2012 is when I did everything, and I went to training, but I didn't start referring until 2013, because I was just scared. I just didn't want to do anything. So I actually started to do games in 2013, and then from there, here I am now.
Oh, all right. Been a good journey then. And what about you, Stephanie? How did you get started?
I think I shared this one already. People are probably tired of hearing it too. But yeah, it's similar to just it. We were both playing football, even against each other. We played together at first, and then we played against each other for different clubs, for different college teams and such. Um, Similarly, my cousin invited me though to referee training. He's also a FIFA referee, and I didn't want to come at first because I had no interest. But also echoing from Tanya, I wanted to play football, had no interest in refereeing. But then I was like, football is not going to cut it anymore. So I was like, all right, let me give it a try. Not having a clue what to do, to be honest, I went on games and I was like shocked. It's like culture shock for me. I think Odette was my first referee on a game, and Odette had to be helping me a lot on that game. Um, but yeah, I never expected to be this far in refereeing, to be honest, because like I just didn't know what to expect after football.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And Natasha, how did you get started in I remember you said you played, but then switching that to become an official is a little different.
It is. So it's a very short story. Last year, I was outside of my job and I saw Zaina Fogo. She is a referee in Bermuda, and she asked if I wanted to do a FIFA course that was going to be in a week's time, and I said, okay, sign me up. And then a week later, I found myself in a FIFA course with all the all the referees in Bermuda, and that was the end. that was the start. So now I'm a referee, and here I am.
Let me ask, and I'm going to go around and ask, do you remember your first international call up, and what was that experience like for you? I'm going to start with you, Stephanie.
Can you repeat that? I think I heard you say international call up.
Yeah, what do you remember your first international call up to officiate, and what was it like for you?
Um, I think so. I think I went to Puerto Rico. It was a women's tournament, um, probably under 17. I went to Puerto Rico and I met Crystal. So was there. Well, that's a lie. I met Crystal before that, but that was our first tournament together after both of us had become FIFA referees or FIFA assistant referees. It was different. Didn't know what to expect because you're meeting girls from different cultures, different countries, different styles of officiating and such. Um, like I was saying earlier, I'm used to working with Odette and Jacette, but then working with a new person who I don't really know, like you had to quickly adjust. Um, and well, the good thing is that football is universal, so on that we were all in sync. So that made it easier. That football was the aim, and the goal is to get the job done, service the game, based on the laws of the game, knowledge of the laws of the game, and application.
Okay, all right. What about you, Gisette?
I can't remember my first international tournament, but I remember my first tournament before going under the sea was in Cayman Islands. When Odette, Stephanie, Crystal. So I don't remember if Tanya was there. I think that was first tournament that we went to before going on this because I think I don't remember the year. I think it was 2015. No, 2014. But that was my first tournament out of Jamaica. I don't remember my first international tournament. It was somewhat uh exciting, um a little bit of fear came into play because I remember that we did a game and the spectators were not pleased with the calls that were made, and we had to be escorted out of the stadium. So yes, I remember that vividly. And I don't remember my first international being appointed a FIFA assistant though, but yes.
Okay, all right. What about you, Odette? She just brought up a memory if you had to be escorted out of a stadium, but do you remember your first international call out and what that experience was like?
For me, I don't remember my first international tournament, but I shared that same moment with Josette also, escorted out of the stadium. It was, on the other hand, but not such a pretty look, outside of your country. But bounce back from there, and here we are now. But I remember I went to Orlando for the under 15 tournament before I got the badge. And in that tournament, I moved on and I officiated the finals back here. And after that tournament, then I was given the badge. So it was a great experience for me.
Oh, okay. Great stuff. And Tanya, you remember your first one? You say it's so long ago, but do you remember that first one?
It wasn't really that long ago. I even only listened 2016.
Okay.
I would say that my first international tournament, but then again, I don't know if you would actually say that that was an international tournament because it was the Windward Islands Association tournament, and I went there with Gillian Martindale, who's a former FIFA assistant, FIFA referee from Barbados, now retired, and she is affiliated with the women's program in CONCACAF. But it was to Dominica, and it was a really fantastic experience. That was the first time I had ever traveled. Actually, I think that tournament was in August that year, and that was the first time I had been to a tournament since being on the list from the beginning of 2016. It was a really good experience. The fact that I also had one of my Asian counterparts with me, who would have, basically given me information as to how to operate at international tournaments and stuff like that. It gave me, I guess you can call it somewhat of an ease because obviously I had some person there who I'd worked with many times before, who was from the same country as me, who would have been to many international tournaments and stuff like that. So it was a really great experience. So for me, from there, everything I just enjoyed.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. And what has been something in a tournament, in a game? It could be a local, it could be a domestic game, it could be an international game that has stood out for you that kind of makes you feel like I've made the right decision to take this course as far as becoming an official. What one thing happened in the game where you felt, okay, yes, I deserve to be here, and it's something that you would never forget. First of all, I want to welcome Crystal Silvers. How are
Thank
you?
you. I'm good, thanks.
Good. Welcome. I'm just asking the ladies to share what has been that standout moment for them in a match that actually kind of makes them feel like they've made the right decision to become an official of football. And I'll start with you, Gisette.
What happened? I think let me see. Well, I think doing finals. I think being appointed to different finals. I think that made me think that all right. Well, I think I made the right choice of coming into refereeing. I think I don't remember a specific call or a specific situation in a game that I would probably say that made me think that okay, yes, I made the right decision. I think that being appointed to different games and different tournaments and especially officiating male games and then you are with um in the tournament where you have just predominantly males and you're thinking that all right, I don't think I am going to make it because I am a female, they are much stronger, they are better, and then boom, you're appointed to a finals, then you may think that okay, I made the right choice. So I think that is it for me.
Okay. Crystal, I'm gonna throw you right in the deep end. What about what would be that moment for you?
For me, I would say being appointed to my first Olympic qualifier, being treated as a first class referee, traveling first class, hotel accommodation first class. So, you see all the perks that come in for training, your endless training, your theoretical part of refereeing, your studies, and that sacrifice, knowing that, hey, something is being paid off at the end of the day. And, as Caribbean referees, well, for me, traveling into different countries and learning different cultures, is something that's intriguing for me. So I get that free with being a FIFA referee. So that
Okay.
will be my hit.
All right. What about you, Stephanie?
Um, I really thought about this question, but like for me, I would say, that moment where you're in the middle of a game and we all have our duties as referees and assistant referees. But like for me, it would be getting an offside decision correct. It would be a very challenging game where you're like, is he on, is he off, is she on or off, like is she going to beat the line, is she asking yourself, like you're fully concentrated and focused on what's happening in this game, and then you're like, boom, you make the decision and you're like, I'm confident in my decision, but then you have people doubting your decision, but you're still confident in your decision. So that's it for me. That's a standout for me in games that I use to motivate me to keep going. And I believe that these decisions help me to be where I am, and it makes me feel like I'm a part of something. I don't know if you get that.
Yeah. Yes. I fully
Yeah,
understand.
moments. It's unique, but those moments.
Yes. What about you, Tanya? Yeah.
Well, I'm actually glad that you took a while to get to me because I'm there thinking, what could I possibly say about something in refereeing that makes me feel like I belong here. And it just came back to me, and I was just telling this story just yesterday morning after the referees were finished training. I remember going to Haiti in 2017. I think it was in November, and Jamaica was playing Bermuda. I was era one in the game, and the Jamaica team was right behind me in the their technical area was right behind me, and they were defending in my half. And the Bermuda team played the ball, and when they played over the ball, their attacker was in her own half. So by the time she collected the ball, she was already in the Jamaicans' half. And all I could do was get down the line. And from there, she scored. I think the next day or two, when we came back to the stadium, there was a guy who was with the Jamaica team. I think that they were playing in the second game. And as soon as I got into the stadium, he started to carry on and get all bad. Like, you don't know it's offside and just get all bad. And Mr. Miko, who's from Jamaica, he was also in the stadium. And he sat and he listened and he listened and he listened to the Jamaican guy carry on and rant. And then after the Jamaican guy was finished, he basically said to him, "Hey, you and I, we're countrymen. We're from the same country. But you know what? These are my referees. Don't interfere with them." So, and then the fact that after having gone into the brief and seeing that the call was the correct call, that the player was on side and the goal was legal and I did everything correct, to know that Mr. Miko then defended his referees was something that made me feel like, yes, this is where I belong as a referee. And that is one of the things that helped seal it for me.
Good stuff. What about you, Odette?
Well, for me, I'm here still thinking, but but I would say, being out there on the field of play, doing what you have to do, get your decisions correct, walk off the field, and everybody come give you a hug, say job well done, you deserve that game. You should be here as a prospect for the future. People asking for autographs, knowing that you're coming from the Caribbean, you know, those things kind of keep me going and motivated and said, yes, you belong in referee and you're here to represent your country.
Good stuff. What about you, Tasha? Have you had that moment yet?
No, not in a game wise, but just the opportunities that have presented themselves within the last year, being able to meet Keisha already, even being on this call with 6 other already FIFA referees, that's an opportunity in itself. I feel like I'm supposed to be here. This is the start of the journey for me.
Okay, all right.
I can't complain.
Now, let me ask, because some people, when they play, they're aggressive and they become a different person. But as a referee, you have to kind of stay within to make sure that you're following all the rules and guidelines and so forth. But what type of person are you before you're the referee? Are you shy? Are you outgoing? Are you outspoken? What type of person are you before you become this official? And Tanya, I see you smiling the most, so I'm coming to you first.
In all honesty, I am naturally a shy person. But once I get into I guess you call it a kind of groove, I am very cool and very relaxed. I like to laugh and enjoy myself. So that is exactly how I am as an official. However, if you do something and I have to mention it to you or whatever, and you persist, then I become this really serious person. And it's like, when I become this serious person, don't play anymore. But I like to know that as a referee, that I don't have this thing where I am, like I'm in a straight jacket and I can't have fun and enjoy the game and, be able to say something funny and make the players laugh, because sometimes there are players who, for whatever reason, I don't know, they may have had a bad day, a bad experience or whatever, and then they come to football and, they want to play, they want to take it out on whoever. So sometimes I like to just share a light moment, and then people are always saying, why this referee always smiling on the field? Because that's just how I am. But if you step the wrong way, then I become this really serious person. But outside of that, I'm just cool, and I like to laugh and like to have fun.
Okay. What about you, Adele?
Well, for me, I'm a person that loves to socialize. I like to be in the mix, but not at all times. I'm easygoing on a level. They say that I'm always serious, but I don't know why. But that's just me overall. But I'm a cool person to be around, give jokes, have fun, and just chill. A kind word now and then if I have to cheer up someone or do something funny. But that's just me.
Okay. And Gisette?
I would say shy. I love to laugh, but when it comes on to game time, then I am more serious and focused. So it's more of a game face for me when it comes on to game time. And then I talk when it is necessary, when I need to.
Yeah.
So yes, that's basically it.
Okay. All right. And Stephanie?
Yeah. I am very shy,
We
but
could tell.
yes, and I do love to laugh as well. But see what I mean? But
Yeah.
as Jessica says, we have to have on our game face. So we have to have dynamic personalities. You know, certain situations in the game we have to be serious about. We will be serious about it. But then there are times when we can smile at the players as well, because we have to show them that we are enjoying what we do. We're not always like screw face and everything. So yeah. But off the field of play, I don't talk to people much.
You be laughing too much. What about you, Crystal? What type of person are you outside of this referee or this official?
I'm more, maybe I'm an introvert, more like even I'm outside of refereeing, even though I have a sense of humor, but it's more for a circle type of thing. I don't have a wide circle to deal with. But refereeing, however, did brought on some ease up shoulders, I would say. Even though I was a player, I know, things players will do to try to aggravate you. It won't aggravate me. I'm quite easygoing on the field. Yeah. A no nonsense person, but will smile with her just to ease that pressure off.
Okay. All right. And Tasha, we know what type of person you are, but share what type of person you are off the field. And I see Mr. Williams got a big grin on his face because he does too.
I think I'm a pretty happy person over the field and on the field, but on the field is about balance. Like most have said, is you give a good smile or a good joke on the field, but when it's time to be serious for a call or something, it's game face. But on the field, I'm relaxed, cool, collected, can make a joke or two.
Okay, all right. Now, I want to ask you, ladies, what advice would you give to young, not only females, but young persons to get involved in the officiating side, and what the benefits are, once they get involved and they can move up the chain. So, what advice would you give? We'll start with you, Crystal.
You still want me to motivate referees during this time? What I mean, you have to be passionate. For me, that's the only drive. That is my only drive. And at the end of the day, I will always say, even to my team, there are critics outside, so you don't be your critic. At the end of the day, you make sure you can evaluate your game, your performance, your training. What you put in is what you will get out, right? So you, for me, I am the only person can say, Crystal, that was wrong. Even though, yes, we have our instructors and assessors, because every one of us is different. We do things differently. And don't be the one to be a referee for your assessor or instructor. No, you will never enjoy the game. And if you're here because you enjoy the game, then you do that one thing that make you enjoy the game, and that's being unique. Because we all referee and assist differently because of what we enjoy doing and how we like to do it, right? But you have to be passionate about it. You have to love it. And me being a footballer, and because of Trinidad and our football situation, and this was the only other thing close to it, and I held on to it because I loved it. And I would say the day I stop loving it is the day you see me off the field of play. Yeah.
Understood. Understood. What about you, Stephanie?
Um, I would say don't limit yourself, and also enjoy what you do and be passionate about what you do. Because if you don't have all those in the mix, you won't be able to achieve what you want. I mean, it's just saying nothing tried, nothing done. Like if you don't try, you won't know.
Mhm.
Then when you do know, like you don't want to have regrets. So as I said, don't limit yourself. Like go out there, say you tried, make a concerted effort that you tried, a concerned effort that you tried, and like just think of everything as a learning point. Don't think of it as okay, mistakes and I can't believe I did this or that, or I probably shouldn't have. No, like just try it, enjoy the moments, enjoy the journey, and think of it as something fulfilling along the way of life. Like even if you don't matriculate to where you want to be, but you had an opportunity to get there and to experience it. And I think that is the greatest outcome.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. What about you, Gisette?
I would say love what you do. If you do not love the game, then it will be hard for you to keep doing what you're doing, and you have to be motivated, especially in a time like this when nothing is happening. Um, we're in Jamaica, you don't have a lot of games going on. You have to be motivated. No, you are on the list, so you might be appointed or you will be called upon to do games. So you have to have self motivation, and I can also say that with all of that, there comes a lot of benefits because the first thing you will get to travel, and traveling is free of cost, not at your expense. You get to meet a lot of different people, experience a lot of different cultures. You get to eat any amount of food you want, all the different types of food you want, any time of the day that you want. You will get you will even get paid. But the only thing that you have to do is you have to keep fit, you have to keep abreast with the laws of the game, and just have fun.
Okay, all right. And Odette?
Well, for me, I can say the same thing as my colleagues just mentioned before. All of those elements you need to stay motivated and be encouraged to move forward. They always say that the sky is the limit, right? But I tell myself the sky is not the limit. Beyond the sky is the limit, you know? So I always tell myself that I always want to see what is beyond the sky, as they always say, is the limit. So I push myself to achieve as much as I can. And if you don't love something, you will not reach far in it and you will be demotivated. So just love what you do. And if it's football that you want to do, then give it your all, give it your best shot. Don't let anybody demotivate you. Self motivation is the key. Just push for what you want and you will achieve all that you can going forward.
Oh, good advice. Good advice. And Tanya?
Well, I guess it's basically just about everything that everybody else said. Um, for me, it makes sense to be passionate about whatever you are doing. Because if you don't have the passion for it, you're not going to be driven. You're not going to be determined. You're not going to, you're not going to want to go out there and do what is necessary to be able to reach the highest of heights. Like Odette said, for me, the sky is never the limit. I mean, if I only reach for the sky, then, and I miss, where am I going to end up? Somewhere in the air. So it's better for me to reach for past the sky. And if I miss that mark, then I still end up high enough that I can still push towards being able to get to my mark. Like I always tell my boys, the only time that you'll see success before work is in the dictionary. And you can't have success without work. If you want it bad enough, you have to go after it. If it means that you have to give up being with friends, out partying, sleeping late, going to bed early, whatever the case may be, then you have to do it. You have to go after it with everything that is in you.
Mm. And from a local base, what about you, Tasha?
My
Sorry.
advice is just you don't put yourself in a box. It's so much opportunity that refereeing can bring to your life. So just keep an open mind is my advice.
Okay. All right. Mr. Williams, you want to get in?
Yeah, for me, I just want to say I remember vividly going when I went to Jamaica with Tashawn and we had a game in Onyx Gardens. And like I said earlier, this is why I called Odette Bad Gal Odette. Onyx Gardens, I can't remember who they were playing, but Odette was in the middle. And in Bermuda, Earl, at the time, we only had two female officials. So I'm sitting there in the stands with Miko, Prendergrass, Sullivan, Victor Stewart. And as the game's going on, you're hearing some words. And if you're in Jamaica, when they talk about the females, they talk real raw and derogatory. So I stood up and I looked at Prendy and them. I said, yo, what is this? And they said, welcome to Jamaica. I said, yeah. Well, if this was Bermuda, the game would have been abandoned a long time ago. And they all laughed. And they're like, no, this is how we groom our ladies so that they can go anywhere in the world and be able to officiate. That was an eye opener for me because I was sitting there in total shock. There was this guy that was playing defense. He was probably twice the size of Adet in height. And he was giving all his lip. And I watched Adet just walk up to him. I don't know what she whispered in his ear, but for the rest of the game, he didn't say a word. When I say he didn't say a word, he did not say a word. So from there, I say, yeah, that's a bad girl. So for me, I just want to say, I'm glad they all came on because the idea is to hopefully we can get, more females to officiate. I'm very proud to see all of you on here because I didn't think this would actually come to fruition, but thank you very much. I want to say thank you to Mr. Rohan Dorber. I know you're watching, Dave, Victor, because you guys have been the inspiration, and Earl also for your vision of putting this, making it come to reality. Ladies, I know that I think is what is it, four of you have been shortlisted to go to the World Cup. I personally hope to see you on the field to represent CONCACAF, and I'm just really, really excited at what I'm seeing. I hope that you guys will come back on this show in the near future.
Well, first of all, let me say congratulations to the ones that have been shortlisted, as well as those that are aspiring to get to that next level. But what if you can, what growing up, obviously everybody has ambitions of being a player. Nobody when you're young thinks about I'm going to be this official at a World Cup or I'm going to be a player at a World Cup, whether it be whatever sport it is. But what sport did you visualize yourself as a young person playing and going to that highest level? I'll start with you, Stephanie. Picking on you, Stephanie.
I realize it's okay. Um, as a young player coming up or a young person coming up, I actually envision myself playing football. Yeah, yeah, I played football since I was probably 11, 10, 11 thereabouts, until I was 23 or 24 maybe, which was when I think I finished university and I said like football has nothing more to offer me. But I still wanted to give back to the sport because I believe that while growing up, the sport offered me avenues of opportunity to, go to school and such. So I wanted to give back to the sport, probably not in the capacity that I'm in now, but I'm grateful for this opportunity that I'm able to give back in a different way than playing or being a coach or something. But my aspiration was to play for Jamaica, to represent my country as a player. But I'm representing Jamaica in um a different way. So I'm
Okay,
grateful for that.
good stuff. And Crystal?
If I tell you, being as a footballer, I have trained. I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, but I've never seen myself reaching no World Cup or anything. As I said, it was just because you love the game, right? Not coming from a oriented family, but I enjoyed the sport. It was my only kind of stress reliever, in coming up for some reason. Um, I mean, education is key, and that is always my that is my first preference at the end of the day. So with sports, it was that balance, and as Tonya mentioned, that sacrifice that you have to give. Sometimes a class will be there, and I have to train. But no, football is just another joy. I don't see even now as a FIFA official. I mean, some may say, "Oh, could you not think about being a World Cup?" Or no, because everyone knows your limits. You know what you give, and you know what you can sacrifice and what you will not be able to sacrifice. You know. So the thing with me, what I put in and I get out. If what I don't get out, and I know sometimes, of course, I say I evaluate myself, and you deserve something. Hey, this crystal silvers, no, I'm not gonna push myself to believe, hey, one day, because the things that I can control, that is what I'm going at. The things I don't have no control with, I'm not gonna step out my way to put myself aligned with anything that I don't have control of. Yeah, that is Mr. Lord's philosophy.
Okay, all right. And what about you, Tanya?
Well, when I was growing up, I was more into track and field than anything else. Track and field was my love of my life. From as young as I can remember to being into a teenager and stuff like that. I actually had the privilege of going to the 2000 Olympics in Sydney. So track and field was my love. I only started playing football when I was like maybe 20, and I fell in love with it. But I don't know. I believe that it was more track and field for me. But after I started playing football and I fell in love with it, that is where my passion then went for playing football as opposed to track and field. But hey, like Stephanie said, I wanted to be able to represent Barbados at a World Cup in football playing, but that never happened. So hey, opportunity has come in a different form, and I am always extremely proud to represent my country in any sport or any form or fashion.
What discipline were you doing at the Olympics?
I went to the Olympics as part of the 4x4 relay team.
Okay, all right. Quarter mile.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, forced to
Oh,
be a quarter miler because that's forced to be a quarter miler because I hated the quarter because I always thought that the quarter was so long. So I was more into the 100, the 200, long and triple jump. And my coach actually forced me to run the quarter. He said, "Man, you'll make a good quarter miler. You go to the Olympics, run the quarter." I was like, "Oh my goodness, no!" And so he eventually kept prodding and prodding and prodding, and I said, "Okay." And I eventually started to run the quarter. I used to hear so many complaints from people about running the quarter. "Man, when you finish run, you don't have to sit down, stand up, lay down, crawl." I'm like, please, whatever. And then after I finished run my first 400, I felt that exact same way. And it was like, oh my goodness, this is how it feels to run a 400. So, yeah.
Natasha would be able to relate to that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a track star. I wanted to go to the Olympics, and then my last year of university, I was just like, this is not it. You're not fast enough, sis. It's not for you. But track did get me to where I needed to go and where I am now. So I'm okay that I didn't go to the Olympics.
What about you, Odette?
Well, for me, I was always an all-rounder in sports. I love track and field from primary school days. Well, basic school, because I always been participating in everything that is happening at the school. Straight through primary, then to high school. In high school, I play netball. I do track and field. Um, I used to play cricket. I love basketball, but I mostly dominated in netball throughout my high school years. And then afterwards, when I went to college, I picked up volleyball. And I'm just always an all rounder. So I never see myself, just say I'm choosing one sport specifically. I just do everything. I'm always an active person. I just like to be involved.
Good stuff. And Gisette.
Well, as Odette, I am an all-rounder. I play all the different sports, but I gravitated more to football than the other sports. I started playing when I was probably 12, 13, when I was in high school, until college, until I eventually stopped and became a referee. So, if anything, it would be football and represent. I think I represented my country once. I think under 17. I don't remember the country though, but I am very passionate about football and playing football. I don't think I remember how to play that well anymore since I stopped and started refereeing, but it would be football and representing my country at different levels in football.
Okay, all right. Have another question for you all. How does your federations support you in your ambitions to go far or as far as you want to go? And we'll start with you, Odette.
I don't
I
know
don't want
how
to
to
get you into
answer that
trouble now.
question. I don't know how to answer that question. But they do support, but not 100%, as they should. Being that we're supposed to elevate and we're out there representing the country on the list, they are not supportive 100%. So I'll just say that for now.
Okay. What about you, Tanya?
He says, "Don't get yourself into trouble." Okay. I'll try my utmost best. Like Odette said, the support is not there 100%. And I usually tell people, for me, referees are just like security guards. We always get thought about last. And after after we are thrown in there as in, oh shoot, yes, referees, yeah, we need to do this, then we kind of get something happening. But like other things, football cannot play without referees. It can't, because there'll be no one to take control of the game and take charge of the game and say, hey, you can't do this, or hey, so I think that our federations around the Caribbean, we need to support our referees a bit more, or a lot more, I should say. Um, but I think that I can say that since I was shortlisted, that the federation has been a little bit more cooperative. They've been doing a little bit more, and the fact that this is something that has happened, I am very grateful to them for what they're doing, even if it's just a little bit more. It helps a lot.
Okay. What about you, Gisette?
Huh. I do not know how to answer that question, but I think I think they're a bit more supportive now, um, because of the fact that we were shortlisted. So I think they're coming on board with us now, seeing that football on a whole isn't carrying the country or swinging the flag high. So I think that refereeing in Jamaica is what is putting Jamaica on the map. So I think that they know more than ever they are turning their attention towards refereeing. So they're paying a bit more attention to us than they were doing before.
Okay. And Stephanie?
Oh, gee. I was trying to hide. Impossible. Um, yeah, it's been a long journey, or quite a journey, uh, with our federation and refereeing. Challenges, of course, but like I can say that throughout the journey there has been improvement. It's still going, but there has been improvement. Like the ladies said, since we've been shortlisted, or I can say even before I was shortlisted because of the previous World Cup, there were times when we needed assistance, myself and Princess, and our head of refereeing at the time would help us through the federation to get that assistance for our training to our preparation towards going to the World Cup. So now that we have achieved this feat, I think they are making some progress in assisting the added females, such as Odetta just said, you know, in getting the necessary that we need to enhance our performance when the time is right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And Crystal?
I was hoping you didn't call the troublemaker, you know. Don't say nothing nice if it ain't nice. Um, well, we all know the hiccup in Trinidad and Tobago, right? So, I mean, as I say, it's on you, the referee, the individual. For me, since I'm a referee, I cannot say that I had support in some kind of way, unless if you want me to say, well, the instructors did what they had to do in terms of carry on sessions, if that is much to say. But if I say the TTFA association, they were okay, we will have this prepared for you, this field here is organized, you'll be training there, have water, this is okay, this is there for the referees, and nothing referee show up, national team staff preference, because hey, the referee don't do games as well. They don't train, they don't need to train as a player. I just try to understand it, but I try to be calm because I'm very sensitive when persons ask about this question. Because literally, we shouldn't have to wait, like I'm hearing my colleagues, why should we have to wait until we are quote unquote shortlisted, right, to then get treatment? What about the persons who are behind us who's looking up? What about the grassroots? And they important as well. There's always a classification in the treatment. The grassroots don't have these opportunities like how the elite referees are having. Why? How would they come up to our standard if they don't have that niche? And they are the ones who need motivation more than us, however the case is. So I stay clear from that question because trust me, my emotions get high. Because when we go out there, I don't just see Crystal Sobers. I see Crystal Sobers representing Trinidad and Tobago. There's a difference,
Okay.
And if we as human beings keep wanting to hide up and hide up, I mean, no, we are representing a country. And if we don't stand out for what we want, then hey, by all means, I'm going to tell India, next time take go Trinidad and Tobago. Let's see what they'll say. It's tough, but passion.
I hear it. I hear it. Where did Natasha go? Oh, she didn't want to answer you, Cranston. Go ahead, Mr. Williams.
Well, for me, I just want to say I don't really have these issues because we have the BFA executive. From I got on the executive when Larry Musson was the president, and then he had set me a task of getting someone on the list. So in terms of support, there's always been support. Anything the referees needed, it was always there. Then Mr. Wade became president. Kudos to him because he set me a different task after he got one person on the list. He decided to change the goalpost and said he wants a team. So because he wants a team, I made it clear to him that we need adequate resources. And I have to admit, the executive has been very, very, very supportive. Anything I've asked for in terms of the referees, it has been given. I don't think it's one thing that I've asked for and it hasn't. I would love to be in a position that Jamaica's in to have 4 people shortlisted to go to a World Cup, because I know the referees would be highlighted. It wouldn't be the senior men going to the World Cup. It would be, you would see in the newspaper everywhere you could think of, it would be, these are the ladies that's going to the World Cup. But hopefully we'll get there one day. That's, the ultimate goal is to see someone from, on a World Cup. I'll let Natasha speak now to see what she has to say about the support the Federation gives, if there is any.
Right before my phone died, I was gonna say that the support in Bermuda is crazy, and I wish that it was the same for all of you guys, federations, and with you. But yeah, I have no complaints about the support, and that stems from Cranston and what he does with the Bermuda Football Association and the Bermuda Referee Association. It is just too good. I have no doubt that if there's 2 more people on the list, that Cranston's right, is going to be about the refs and not the men's football team.
There you go. Well, I feel honored to have the privilege of having you ladies join me here on this show, and give a sense of what your journey has been like. And I know there are some people who have started a journey of officiating that probably will go down the same road as some of you, but seeing and hearing you deliver your messages of reach for the sky, even further than the sky, and you got to have passion, the things like that. I think that is the encouraging things that we need to make sure that people hear, and let people know that there are female standout officials that are from the Caribbean or from CONCACAF that are going to what we consider the big show, and we want to encourage you to do your best, represent this region to the best of your ability. And if you can, pull another one along, pull one more along, and that's the hope of many of us here, that we get to see you at the highest level of the sport, and that you have the smiles I've seen today, and we can all get back together again and kind of enjoy those moments together with you, and you can talk about your experiences. So, ladies and gent, thank you very much. And I look forward to speaking to you again very soon. Do enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you very much, ladies.